Hi guys, welcome back. This is my second project for Kitaholic Kids for the month of February, and I am doing a 12 by 12 layout. This layout is all about different photos that I have of my husband and my little doggy Alfie, who is just a big daddy's girl and who just adores her daddy. So I just wanted to create a layout that's all focused on her and the photos that they have together. I took this stripy page and I cut down all of the little strips and I distressed the sides of those strips, and I'm going to actually lay them out back onto the 12 by 12 paper, but I took out the brightest pink because it just really didn't match the vibe that I was going for. The reasons why I'm doing this is to create a bit of white space in the layout and to create some texture as well. So I am putting those onto the layout where I like them, and then I am sticking them down. Down the track, you'll see me fiddling around with the top three colors because I wanted more of the yellow in the layout rather than the pinks, and basically my photos were covering up the yellow. So I'll switch them a little bit later. For now, I am going to just stick all my photos onto that piece of paper that we got in the, was it the alphas? Yeah, I think it was the alphas. I'm going to stick them and use that paper as like the backing paper basically, and to create a little bit of a white border. It just worked out well because it was sitting on my desk and I needed something that was 12 by 12, and that happened to be exactly the right size. So it was convenient. So I am just going through and I am sticking all those photos down in a long, what is it, horizontal strip. That took me a while to come up with. But yeah, I'm sticking them down, starting with the outside photos. I do maneuver them around a little bit. The double-sided tape that I used isn't super sticky, and you can carefully peel things off it. So once I was happy with that, I cut out my photos, and I wanted to put them on the layout. Then I decided to add this very busy floral paper. I love the paper and I love the colors, but it was super busy. So that is why I am just using it to kind of back these photos as well. I am going to, on the top, I'm going to just cut along the edge of the photos, and then down the bottom, I'm actually going to tear it. Now, you'll see that once I actually stick it down, that's when I start to think I'm going to switch up the yellows and the pinks. Now, what I wish I had done is that I kept it the way it is now, because at this point I didn't know what my title was going to be. I then found a acrylic piece, a title in my stash that was purple, and I think ultimately this kind of clashes. The yellow clashes with that purple title. I feel like I do make it work as much as possible, but I think it would have been much easier if I had stuck to the pinks and the greens and the purples in this layer without introducing the yellow element as well. Now, just before I go on, that photo strip is actually now been placed on foam tape, so it creates a bit of dimension and props it up off the page. But yeah, so like I was saying, I do think I make it work because I bring in some extra purple colors, but ultimately I think it would have just been easier if I'd left the yellow out completely and I'd focused on the pinks and the greens at this point. I like that little rainbow strip, and I thought I would add that in just for something extra. And now I am going to start thinking of embellishing. So there were these two little just random paper strips on this piece of sticker sheet, and so I am going to take those strips, put one down the top and one up the top, sorry, and one down the bottom. I think this is where I look for this acrylic piece, and I kind of just dig through my stash. I've had it for a long time and I thought it worked out well, and I stuck that together down so that you can see one of the little rainbows on top of the O, like as you can see there. So the little rainbow kind of looks like it comes out from under the together. So now I'm going to finish my title using the tiny little alphas that we got in the kit this month, and I can't remember, I think Together Always and Forever is what I spell out. I take a little ampersand from my stash as well because I couldn't find one in this particular kit, and I just grabbed one because this little sticker sheet with the ampersands are actually just like always in front of me. So I'm sticking that down, and so my title says Together Always and Forever. That's right. I was going to use that yellow alpha in that particular sheet of alphas. I love those alphas, by the way, because they've got so many letters. But I then thought, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the bottom half of this layout very cool toned with the purple and the cooler toned greens, and the top half is going to be more warm toned. So I opted for that purpley color instead. This was probably also a mistake because I feel like I could have easily then tied that yellow into the bottom, but I didn't. I stuck down those two butterflies because there's a warm colored one and there's a cool tone colored one that kind of matches the purples. So I stuck down a little phrase sticker there, and I can't remember what that says. Oh, it says, "This brings me great joy." Now, I am just kind of sticking things down because I like how they look. Added that little tab at the top there. This little sticker is going to be where I'm going to put my journaling because I don't really have much to say about this layout. So I thought that's just enough room to add like a little something something. And this is where I realized I need to bring more purple into my layout. So I am going to do a trick that I actually started doing last month for my Kitaholic Kids project, and I'm going to punch out a bunch of stars and I'm going to stick them all over the layout. So I punched out stars from that bright flowery paper. I punched out stars from that purpley paper, which is just from my stash. And actually, I think I got it from the Kitaholic Kids store. And then I punched out stars from my gold glittery paper to add a bit of pizzazz. Then I'm just going to go ahead and start sticking them down, clustering, essentially creating a bit of a cluster that runs diagonal down the page, which, as you can see, I've already kind of started. So I'm going to just continue with that flow. So I'm going to add some purpley stars to the top to bring that purple from the acrylic piece across. And I'm also going to add some warmer stars, which is mainly represented in the glitter paper, down the bottom. I start generally, when I do something like this, I start with the biggest stars first, and then I try to create a cluster of 3. And then obviously with this type of thing that I'm doing here, I create multiple clusters of 3, but I think at the end it kind of does create a bit of a multiple visual triangles, and it does carry the eye the way that I want it to carry, kind of diagonally down the page. That's a long way of just saying I'm sticking and plonking pretty stars that look pretty. Sometimes with this glue, you kind of have to hold down the item that you're sticking down just to really wait for it to get to super tacky, and I often use the backside of that glue pen to do that because, as you can imagine, your fingers can get quite sticky quite quickly. I'm also adding some stars directly onto the photo, again to create that diagonal element, stripe, whatever you want to call it. A little bit about these photos. So the first photo there that you can see is when we first met our little Alfie, when we went to go pick her up from the vet. We absolutely loved her, and we actually bought her before we'd even met her. We just saw her online and we're like, oh, we love her so much, and so we got her. The second photo was when we were having little snugs outside. The third photo is the only black and white photo because the lighting was terrible, and that photo is of just nice snuggles with her dad on the couch. Then the next one is a picnic photo, and the last one is the one that we actually have at recently. I think I took it like 2 weeks ago. So she's just a very, very big daddy's girl, like I said. I am outlining some of these stars with just a jelly roll pen, and you'll see occasionally I tap it on my hand, and that tapping actually just like dislodges, because as if you have ever used a white paper before, you know that they get gummed up pretty quickly. So I just have to tap to kind of get that opacity back. This is where I decided I'm going to go all out and just go crazy, and I'm going to start adding these little white sprinkly little plus signs and circles and stars all along that diagonal that I've already created. And I really quite like how this looks. It took a long time, but I think it just creates like a bit of a whimsical feel to this whole layout, which is kind of what I wanted. And because it's so whimsical, it forgives the fact, I think, that the colors don't exactly match, and that this layout, the color story of this layout, isn't too bad. But yeah, so that's basically the layout done. I'm not adding a date to this one because obviously there's multiple dates that I'm telling the story of. And yeah, that is pretty much it. I like how it turned out ultimately, even though it was a bit of a struggle getting there. And I will see everyone with another Kitaholic Kids project next week. Have a lovely day. Bye.